Hey, welcome to Megavision, a show about stuff and the creeping thoughts inside my brain. I'm Christopher Curtis, a reporter at the Montreal Gazette, and my guest today, very special guest, is running for mayor in November. Valérie Plante is a city councillor. She's the leader of Projet Montreal, and she sits on the board of directors for the Broadband Institute. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me. That's great.
Well, I think that one of the normal things that sometimes voters say about a candidate is, I wish I could have a beer with that candidate. We can't have beer because it's at the workplace, but I thought maybe I could offer you a bottle of root beer. And no problem. And we could have a little chat about, I guess, who you are, because I think a lot of Montrealers might not know that.
That's great, but then first we got to cheer.
Absolutely. To what? What's the occasion?
To my winning.
Yeah, I can't cheer. I'm supposed to be neutral here. The mayor's going to have my scalp for that one. I've heard he holds grudges. Before we get into all of this, I just wanted to know, I was looking over your CV, and you're not super well known to the city, and there's maybe one thing I think that says a lot about who you are, which is that before entering politics, you worked with the victims of conjugal violence. True. I guess you accompanied them in court. A lot of them were immigrant women. Can you speak about that?
Sure. So I've been, before getting into politics, because you're right, I became a politician only 3 years ago, so that's pretty new.
Yeah.
But before that, I'd always been engaged in the community, working with different women's organizations, and one of those organizations was about offering support to women, newcomers, new immigrant in the city of Montreal, and who were dealing with domestic violence, and I would support them into court, because we know how difficult it is just to be in that situation. But when you are an immigrant, it's even more difficult, because you need to manage all the challenges regarding, a new country, the language issue as well. So I was really there to give them some support, moral support, but also in terms of information, and to explain to them what was going on in court.
What did you learn about yourself, and maybe you must have learned so much during the job. What was that? So much,
yes, and I had the chance as well to work with Aboriginal women in the past, and working with more marginalized women, I'd say. It gave me it helped me to understand how I can be a good ally to people, how I can support other people in different situations, in more difficult situations, to go through life and to give them the tools, because that's what I do. I've always been interested in helping people out, to use my talents, to use my energy, because it's something I do have lots of energy, and to support people in their journey into life. And supporting immigrant women is very important to me as well.
Well, I think I read that, and it kind of jumped out as something maybe that hasn't really been a part of your story. Like, we haven't really heard about that so much. So you are a mother of two boys?
Yes, exactly.
And you became a city councillor in 2013. You were up against Louise Arel, who had been a candidate for mayor, who had been a cabinet minister, and you weren't supposed to beat her. Lo and behold, you did. And then, of course, during the leadership race for the leader of Projet Montreal, there was Guillaume Lavoie, who's sort of seen as the odds-on favorite. You weren't supposed to beat him. You did. And now I think you're running against a pretty popular mayor who, he's a household name. He was a federal cabinet minister. He's out there. He's what they say in French, un maire de terrain. You're not supposed to beat him. Do you think you can win in November?
Definitely. Definitely, because who I am, what people see right now is who I am. And I decided to run the first time in 2013, bringing everything that I have to offer. And because I care so much for Montreal, I care about my city. I decided to live here. I worked in all types of different boroughs. I know the city well. I bike the city. I walk the city. I use my car in the city. So I pay my taxes. I take my kids to school. So I feel like I'm very close to day-to-day concerns that every Montrealer have to go through, that I have to live with. So my engagement into politics is to take all that experience, but also my values and wanting to do things good to improve the city for everyone. And so this is how I entered politics. And this is, I truly believe that this is what made me won the first time against Louise Arel.
Yeah.
Doing door-to-door, meeting people, doing kitchen assembly. This is how I won for the leadership
So it's
race.
like the ground game. You knock on every door.
The real ground game.
Yeah.
Because I know that our mayor right now is, we say, you actually said that he's known for this. But to be honest, he's often in places, but not for long. What I want to do is to listen to the population. I want to listen to Montrealers have to say. And they want to be heard. They want to tell what needs to be improved. We need to stop imposing decisions to them. We need to listen to what they have to say. And this is what I'm bringing to the table. And I have my party, Projet Montréal. We've been there for 12 years. We have so much experience and knowledge. We've had so many great ideas that were implemented in different boroughs. So I have all this amazing, how could I say, baggage. I have my team. And I'm also bringing to the table this very grassroots approach to politics.
So politics, as I've learned, is the art of like compromise. You know, you can't get everything you want. You've got to sort of, there's some give and take. So I thought I'd present you with some political compromises. You can tell me if it's possible or not. All right, so
to do them, to accomplish it.
Okay. So I think this is a pretty good one. The pit bull ban.
Yes.
So you keep the pit bull ban in place, but if you already own a pit bull, you can register it with the borough, and the pit bull is eligible to run in the elections as a city councillor. I would vote for a pit bull.
Would you?
Yeah. I mean, you know, you want someone who's going to sink their teeth into the issues.
Well, we've seen in the States some very interesting candidates for their presidency. That would be interesting. I'm sure Mr. Kadal would love that idea.
Do you think, though, with like being serious on the issue of the pit bull ban?
Because it is serious. It affects so many citizens.
It seems like the mayor took some heat for the scandal about spying on journalists, for some, you know, overreaching at times. But this one really, like, people were really passionate on not necessarily on both sides. The people who are against the pit bull ban are super passionate about it. Is that kind of what city politics comes down to? Like, it's like these little things that tell you maybe more about the person instituting it than about the issue itself?
Well, like you said, people are so passionate about their animal. It can be dogs, but it's also for cats. You know, it's for all the animals in the city of Montreal. And people are passionate. They're so attached to their animals. So we need to take that in consideration. We cannot just pass a law like the mayor did without considering all the aspects of the reality. And so it's very important. And this is why we've always been, Projet Mayor has been saying since the beginning, we need to take a bigger look. We need to look at best practices in other cities, what's been done before us.
I heard in Calgary that
that's a great model.
There hasn't been any breed-specific bans, but over the last 30 years, they've managed to reduce dog bites by like 80% just by having better practices. And
it's about raising awareness, about education, about supporting good behavior from the dog owners as well. So we should be following those approaches instead of coming up with an idea and want it to move so fast that you don't even listen to experts. And this is why people are upset and mad, because they feel like the administration has imposed their decision without considering all the facts. And I don't think this is the right way to do it.
Second political compromise. The taxpayers pay for a $500 million baseball stadium, but in the winter, the players on the new Expos team have to form a snow removal company that takes care of the Southwest and replaces Pavage d'Amour. I think that could work. They're pretty good athletes. They could learn fast.
It could be part of their training.
Yeah, exactly.
Or welcome, if you play in Canada, if you play in Quebec and Montreal, then there you go. You need to be part of the shoveling team. I think it's a great idea.
Excellent. All right, so it's settled. All right, yeah, I always thought, my mom always told me I'd have a future in politics.
So there you go.
I don't think it was meant as a compliment. So I maybe wanted to switch gears again a little bit. Nobody votes in the or like 30%, 40% maybe turnout for municipal elections.
Yes, it's true.
There's maybe a tendency to blame people for this, but I think that it doesn't feel like there's a reason to vote. I don't know, like there's a cynicism. Two quick little things. Can you say something nice about the mayor? Can you say something like that goes beyond partisanship? What do you like about this mayor?
Well, I think he's doing a lot of the efforts to talk about Montreal at the international level. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a good job in wanting to promote the city elsewhere. Then I could give you the downside of that, but I mean, ultimately,
Yeah.
I think he's doing a good job. Maybe he's doing a bit too much of that, but
Well,
that's good.
it's possible too that maybe he doesn't get enough credit for. He is good behind the scenes at getting the province and the federal government to sit down with him. But on the flip side, what do you think is something the mayor maybe gets credit for that he shouldn't?
Well, ultimately, I think it's more about what we. At this point, I'm more interested in finding out what Montreal's want to get as a mayor, because so far it's more about what he's giving us. But I'm interested. The conversation to me needs to be about what we deserve, what we need to put together so Montreal becomes a better place. I feel like we're done with transition. How about a vision? And I think this is what Montrealers want. They want a vision for their city. What are we looking for in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And right now, I don't have that answer, because then this is why we need to have a new administration.
And I guess what it maybe could come down to is, or at least what I think maybe is lacking in a lot of our are big ideas. Like I think in the last election there were a few, but it almost became a referendum on like, oh, should we have Denis Coderre, or are a lot of the city councillors in his party a member of the old corrupt Union Montreal, and that it got bogged down in so much negativity that I think we sort of lost track of what the city can be. Can you talk about a big idea that you think is possible and that you want for the city? Like what would you base your candidacy on? Like a huge idea.
So one big idea is to give back the waterfront to Montrealers all around, because we're an island. But often we don't even feel that way. We're so isolated from the waterfront because there's the train rails, there's like highways, and it's so difficult to reach to the water. So to me, this is so important. We've seen again across the world places where we actually have a strong sense that we live on an island. So that's something very important. And something I just want to come back and because you started with the 40% just earlier, right?
Yeah.
And there's big ideas, but ultimately something, because I'm a very grassroots person. When I meet people and I do a lot of kitchen assembly, what comes out a lot is people say to me, I don't vote at the municipal level because I don't know what it does for me. What is it all about? And when you start to when you have a conversation with people and you share what the municipal can do to them. There's of course everything related to garbages, there's about parks and everything, but it can also be about bigger projects. And when you involve the citizens, now they're interested in it. That's what I want to do. I don't want 40% for voters at the next election. I want more than that. But we need to have an interaction. We need to share why the municipal level is so important to citizens on a day-to-day basis. So that's a goal that I have for the next election for sure.
And I think it's possible there's still that sort of like, we're still kind of feeling the after effects of the Charbonneau Commission of I was in court during the councillor trial the other day. Mm-hmm. An engineer comes up and he testifies that in the old system you would go to the party in power, and the engineering company would either give them $200,000, $150,000, or $100,000, depending on their size, and in return they would have exclusive access to these very lucrative contracts. The former mayor is in jail. Michael Applebaum was recently sentenced to a year in prison. It's very frustrating to see that, to look at that, and it's hard, even as like someone who's supposed to look at this with an even hand. You see you hear the story about, well, he's a good dad, and but you feel like the most sacred thing in like in our society essentially is democracy, and
that feeds cynicism.
Yeah, no, I feel totally defeated by that, and it's hard to look at that, and I was wondering what's the cure to cynicism? What is it just energy? Is it engaging? Mm-hmm. Is it staying in touch?
Right. There's many things, but to be honest, this is one of the reasons I decided to go into active politics. I thought to myself, I don't like the way it's going right now. I don't feel connected to politicians so much at the municipal level. I'm going to bring my values, a bit of what you said, my background. I'm going to bring those values, those way of doing, this connection that is so important to me. And I'm going to bring everything to the table and see what happens. Can I not change the system, but can I interact, or at least bring a little bit of little sparks within the how the municipal politics works? And I truly believe that it is possible, and being a newbie is a good thing, because I'm not carrying a party I haven't been in politics for 30 years. I don't have tons of friends beside me or people in all different types of sphere. You know, I'm here for the right reason, because I care. The bottom line is I'm here because I want to improve the city of Montreal and make a difference in the life of Montrealers. And I know it sounds maybe like...
It sounds pretty, you know...
But...
I think at the end of the day, even a candidate who ends up in jail, like Michael Applebaum, started out in politics. There was a noble reason to start there. It's just, I guess, the attraction of power, and
exactly.
You can get sucked into something much larger.
But then, this is probably where I'm going to tell you that I chose Projet Montréal because everything related to financing, it is so clear and clean, and we've been so persistent in following all the rules. Something is so important to us. I see it because as a chef, I'm dealing with all the internal stuff, right? And we never take any risks, because to us, we need to be above any types of how could I say?
You want to be above reproach.
Yes, yeah. And it is important, and that's what Montrealers wants to hear. They're tired of enough with Charbonneau, enough with Applebaum, and again, this is why I'm saying, thank you, Monsieur Coderre, for the transition. Now we're ready for a vision, and we're ready for Projet Montréal.
Well, I'm sure he'll fight back a little bit on that. I mean, he's a great campaigner. Finally, perhaps a sort of a humanizing thing here. I was thinking about jobs, and do you have like a bad job that you ever had that you would like? Can you think of the worst job you've ever had? I think people can relate to I was at McDonald's, whatever.
See, my nickname is I'm a happy warrior.
Yeah.
So I tend to see everything positive. I try to find something positive in all my jobs. So let's see. Well, I mean, I did when I was younger, because I'm from Abitibi, which is a very different reality than Montreal. But I used to work in a gas station, actually, and I used to do night shift. Okay. And I have to say, I was meeting all kinds of people. But again, to me, though it was conditions that weren't easy, it gave me the opportunity to meet people that there's no other way I would have met. The
people who show up at a gas station at 3 in the morning in Abitibi, pull over,
yes.
Maybe smell a little something on their breath. Should you really be gassing up? Right? Yeah. Well, there you go. It's relatable. From a gas station in Abitibi to potentially maybe the mayor's office. I think
there you go.
That'd be really interesting. We forgot to play Jenga, but I think
I'm glad we forgot.
I think that's as good a note to leave on. Thank you so much, Valérie.
Thank you for having me.
Hope that it goes well for you, but I hope in the end that it goes well for Montrealers. Right?
There you go. That's what we all want.
Whoever they elect,
I agree.
They deserve.
Deserve.
Or they've earned it. I think that's I don't know. It's a negative way of seeing it. Anyways, thank you so much for coming. I know you're busy. I appreciate it. I guess we'll see you next time on Megavision, when, if we still exist, we'll have a really interesting guest and possibly still play Jenga. I'm not sure. We'll see. I don't know. Thank you so much. Have a good one.